Hi, welcome to Microsoft Excel Basics. My name is Meg, and I am a library associate that will be helping you with your class today.
And my name is Jordan. I'm also a library associate and Meg's assistant teacher today.
This is going to be a class that's great for a student with basic or better computer skills, and it's going to help you learn how to create a budget using Microsoft Excel.
So in this class, at the end, you should be able to enter text and numbers into an Excel worksheet, use the autofill function, format cells to display text and numbers effectively, perform basic calculations, use the Autosum, and then also you should be able to print your workbook at the end.
All right, what is Excel? Excel is going to be a powerful spreadsheet software that'll allow you to organize data, easily perform complex mathematical equations, link information together, create charts of data, and much, much more.
And with these classes, we also want to highlight that we are planning on potentially doing a new live Q&A session. So as you watch this class, if you have any questions, please write them down. And then at the very end, you're more than welcome to email us. Here's our email address that you can send it to. It's epl@englewoodco.gov. But if you can put your name and a good phone number on there, we're going to try and follow up with everybody and answer your questions. And if we get enough questions, we'll actually do a live Q&A session with Zoom, and we'll schedule that out and post it on our Facebook page.
All right, let's begin. Okay, so the basic interface, you are going to have the ribbon, and that's going to have your tabs. So you're going to find Home, which is where most of your frequently accessed features are going to be. You're going to have a tab for Insert. That's going to add content beyond basic text to the page, such as graphics, tables, shapes, that sort of thing. The next tab is going to be Page Layout. So this is going to change how the page prints. So like your margins, your orientation, size, all that good stuff. The next tab you find is going to be Formulas. So this is the reason why Excel is so useful. You're going to have tools that Excel can do the work for you. The next tab is Data. So this will organize and summarize data in your workbook. The next one is Review. So think along the lines of like your spell check. So you've got spell check, thesaurus, you can add comments, that sort of thing. And then you'll also have a tab for Viewing. So this is going to change how the page looks digitally. So whether you can see the grid lines or not, you can zoom in to make it bigger or smaller. And then you can tell which tab is selected because it's highlighted. So if you'll notice when Jordan was clicking through, right now View is selected, and then he just went over to Review, so that's highlighted. All right, now within each tab, you're gonna have groupings. So this is, they're like buttons to kind of help you find the things that you're looking for. So if I tell you to click the Autosum button, and you have to read through every button on the Home tab, that would be annoying. But if you go to Home and you know Autosum is in the editing group, you can kind of look down there at the bottom of those. It's going to be a lot easier to find. So that's your editing section. Autosum is right up there. All right,
So with Excel, you have spreadsheets and you have workbooks. So what a spreadsheet is what we're on right now. So spreadsheets where you're actually going to be punching in your data. It's what's going to be doing calculations, all those types of things, whereas the workbook is actually the collection of spreadsheets. So down here at the very bottom, you have different tabs. So each of these is going to be a spreadsheet, and then the entire thing is going to be the workbook. So right now we have our 2019 budget, which is what your budget's going to look like at the end of this class. And then we've got a 2020 that's we're actually going to walk you through and build with you guys. So little things about the spreadsheets is the spreadsheet, it's comprised of rows and columns. So you have your different rows here, and they are numbered. And then you have different columns. And with the columns, they each have a different letter, and that's going to be the name of the column. The little boxes that you see that I'm clicking in right now, those are considered cells. And each cell has a cell address. So what that basically means is that if I click on here and we want to try and tell somebody where this cell is, then what you would tell them is we're in cell C5. So if you look at the top here and it highlights it for us, so it starts with your column headings and then it does your rows. And you can also look over in the corner here, and this will actually give you your cell address. So if we click around, this updates with us, makes it a little bit easier to tell which cell we're in. In addition, we also have this bar up top here, and this is going to be the formula bar. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to tell us whatever's typed into a cell. So sometimes you're just going to have text, and then other times you're actually going to have a formula. And so by clicking on the cell, it'll actually tell us what exactly is going on here, because in some cases, especially with the formulas, you won't necessarily see it on the worksheet. You'll have to come and check up here to see what's actually going on.
And we will go through all of that, so don't panic just yet. All right, so your basic navigation. So when you click in a cell, and say you open a new workbook, it's going to select cell A1. And you can tell which cell is selected because you've got that thick box around it. So in our example, it's green, it may be black on yours. Color doesn't matter, but it's kind of that thicker line around the square. And you can, if you want to move a row down, you can press enter, like the enter key on your keyboard, or you can always use your arrow keys to move up or down also. The tab button on your keyboard is going to move you to a column to your right. So that'll tab you over to the right by column. All right, so now to add text. So we are going to build a budget and learn some of the tools that Excel offers. To start with, we need to create the content that's going to belong in the budget. So step one, you're going to click in that cell A1 if you've moved away from it, and you're going to want to type in personal budget. All right, so then you can press that enter key to move down, or again, you can use the arrow keys also. And we're going to move down to cell A4. And then you're going to want to type in the following text. So for cell A4, it's going to be income. The next one, A5, is going to be wages. Next box down is interest. And then the next box will be your miscellaneous. So you can just abbreviate MISC. And then the next one down is going to be income totals. Now this is where we're going to skip a little bit to kind of like give us some space. So we're going to actually go down to cell A10 and we're going to type in expenses. Now as you're doing your workbook, if when you go to personalize it, you can delete some of these, you can add more, but this is just going to be kind of our template to show you what's going on. All right, so the cell below expenses, we're going to type in home. And then below that, it's going to be mortgage/rent. And then below that is going to be utilities. Next line down is going to be phone. And the brilliant part about YouTube is you can always pause if we are going too fast for you, because, sorry, we get excited about Excel. All right, next line down is going to be home improvement/repairs. A long one. All right, and then the next line, so A16 is going to be home totals. We're going to break this up again, so we're going to go down to A18 and we're going to type in living.
Well, and just to let you guys know too, so I didn't capitalize totals like I did up here. So if you need to fix that, what you do is you're going to click on your cell again, and then we're going to go back up to that formula bar that I told you about earlier. And if we click in here, then we can actually edit the text. So I can go back and I can fix my mistake without having to redo the whole cell.
A18, so that is living. All right, next one is groceries. And then childcare. And then eating out, which hopefully we'll all be able to do very soon. And then living totals. Okay, we're gonna separate out again. So go down to cell A24. Oh, after Jordan edits.
Did it again.
All right, A24, sorry, is transportation. And then gas and insurance, all these good stuff, right? Parking, public transportation, and then transportation totals. We're gonna skip down to, so we're gonna go to A31, and this is gonna be expenses total. And then the next line is gonna be like over/short. All right.
Righty. So when you're punching all of this in, it looks like our cells were already expanded, but sometimes they're not going to be that way. So just to kind of show you what I did is I just clicked up here and I dragged over our B cell, shortened up our A cell a little bit. And you can kind of see that what happened is that the text, even though we have it in cell A or in column A here, it does overflow into cell B. So that doesn't matter if you don't have anything in cell B, but if you do, then what will happen is you're not going to be able to see everything in cell A. So for example, if I go and I click into cell B15, which is, it basically has the overlap of the home improvements, and I type in, let's just type in 800. After I type it, it's going to cut off everything that's in this cell and you're not going to be able to see it. So the way that you fix that is if you go up to the top here and you hover your mouse over, you're going to get this cursor. It has a black line with 2 black arrows on either side of it. So clicking on that, you can actually drag the cell and change the distance or the width of the cell. So if I do that now, we can start to see it almost has everything I want. We got to go a little further. Oh, so if I go a little further. There we go. So now you're actually able to see what's in cell A15 without it being cut off. Now there is a shortcut to do this that's a little bit easier. So if I go back and I end up cutting off that cell again, if you have a bunch of them and you don't want to do them each one by one, what you can do is you can click this little corner at the top. It's got this little triangle, and that's going to highlight your whole entire workbook. So now what you can do is you can go and you can double click on this line. And what that tells Excel to do is it's going to go through every piece of text, and it will adjust them all for you. If you don't want to just do the entire workbook, maybe you just have one certain cell, then you can also just double click as well, or just one column, and it will adjust for you too.
All right. So now we're going to work on autofill. So this is one of the brilliant things about Excel is that there are an abundance of tools available to help you work faster and easier. So Excel has been programmed to understand cycles. For instance, like the months in the year. So we know, like Excel knows that February comes after January. So this means that we won't have to type in all of that information on our own. So you can use autofill. And we're going to start by typing in the abbreviation, so JAN for January in cell B3. All right, now you can confirm the value by pressing enter. And then you're going to go back and click on cell B3 again, and you can click and drag the autofill handle. So it's in the lower right corner of the selected cell. You get that little plus sign that's like the bold plus sign without the arrows on your cursor. And you're going to click and drag until you see the prompt for December. There it is. All right, so, and then autofill automatically does all that work for you. Yay. All right, so we are going to go over the different type of cursors that you're going to find in Excel. So your fat white cross, which is what we have up right now, that's your selection cursor. So you can use that to kind of click around, select different items. As we just did, the autofill cursor is going to be that thin black cross. So you're going to see that when you go to that bottom right-hand corner of your individual block, your individual cell. The other cursor you'll see is a thin black cross with arrows. So that'll be something you can use to rearrange cells. So it'll kind of like pick up and drag the information from one cell to another. It'll also show you how to use the undo button. Oh, maybe. There we go.
There we go.
Ta-da! That's always
Forgot
a
about that
winner. So if you ever do anything that you didn't mean to do accidentally, right up there in your top left-hand corner is a wonderful button that points, kind of curves to your left. That's your undo button. It's a lifesaver. Keep that in mind. All right. Then the other cursor that you're going to find is for cell resizing. So that's your thick black line with the arrow in either direction. So we kind of went over that when we were talking about like column resizing. So you can do that manually by clicking and dragging, or you can have it do it automatically by just kind of double clicking on the column you want it to resize. All right, so we're gonna do some basic math. Yay. All right. The true power of Excel is not necessarily in its ability to organize data, but it's in its ability to do the work for you, which we all know and love. So we're going to have Excel perform basic mathematical functions for us. So for the sake of ease, we're just going to say everyone has $2,000 as their monthly salary. So you're going to go to cell B5, and you're going to type in 2,000. All right, and then we can use, let's see, oh, sorry, I'm skipping things. Okay, so then we're gonna go down to cell B6 and we're gonna type in 0. And we're gonna autofill 0 all the way across to M6.
So make sure when you type in your 0, you wanna hit enter. That way it sets your text in there. And then you can go ahead and do autofill. And you said M6?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go all the way through December.
Yeah, and then we're actually going to want to go ahead and do that same thing. Anyway, we want to autofill wages. So we want that $2,000 to go all the way through December, hopefully. we get paid every month of the year. Okay. Now we're going to go down to cell B7. Yep. Okay, so that's miscellaneous. And we're going to type in 0. And we're going to autofill that one through December also. All right, now we want income totals. We don't want to necessarily go through and do all of the math ourselves. So you've got, for January, you've got like your wages is $2,000 plus 0 plus 0. Now, if you have other things that you're going to be typing in for your personal one, it will get more complicated, but we still don't want to do the math for every single month. So we're going to have Excel do that for us. So we are going to start by adding those cells together. So we want to add cells B5 plus B6 plus B7, and that's going to be the sum that we get for like into B8. So you go to the formula, or you can click on the cell, and you're going to always start with the equal sign for a formula. So we've got the equal sign, and then we're going to tell Excel where to find the number. So you're going to type in 2. So you can click on B5. It's going to add that in, and then we're going to add, so it'll be the plus sign next. We want to add it to B6. So click on that. I'm going to do another plus sign and B7. And that's what we want our total to be in B8. So then you can just click enter to kind of lock it in. And we're going to want to carry that sum through for all of the months. All right. So we're going to autofill again. Yay! We are familiar with autofilling. Ta-da! All right. Ta-da!
So you may be wondering too, when we went ahead and we autofilled for January, is it just putting the 2,000 because that was for January in all of these? But when we autofilled with this this formula that we came up with, it actually changed it to make sense for each of the columns. So if we look at our formula bar here, this is what we originally typed in, equals B5 plus B6 plus B7. If I go over to April, I'm going to click on my 2000 there, then it does show that we have our equals E5 plus E6 plus E7. So this will change depending on what's in here. So for example, if we, for some reason, we had interest in January, so we type in 40. When I hit my enter bar, it's going to go ahead and it's going to adjust what we're getting here, but it didn't adjust all of those because those are actually, they pertain to their own columns.
And this is where Excel is super handy because it's smart like that.
So when we're looking at this data, it's kind of hard to tell that we're talking about money. So it would probably be helpful if we had decimal points and if we also had, you know, the little money symbol in front of our numbers. So in order to do that, what we can do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on B5, and then we can just hold down your left trigger on your mouse, and you're going to drag it all the way over, and you're going to highlight all of these. So we went ahead and we highlighted all the way to M8. So now with this highlighted, I want you to go ahead and right click. And then you're going to have this little option down here for format cells. So click on format cells. And then we get a bunch of different options here. We have just basic numbers that it gives us decimal points. There's currency. You could organize them if you had different dates on there, different times. So for the purpose of our budget right now, though, we want to use currency. So we're going to click on that. And so our options are, we have how many decimal places do we want to take it to? And then whether or not we want it to have the, to use the money symbol or not. So down here, this is asking us how we want our negative numbers to show up. So we can have it show up where it just does the negative sign in front. We could also have them show up as being red. We could also have them show up as having parentheses, or they could be red and parentheses. So for right now, we're going to go ahead and just do red. So we'll hit OK. And then what Excel did is now it went in, it made all of these into currency cells. So now it's assuming all of this is money. And to kind of show you that, that the negative works, we're going to type in, for some reason, we had negative interest, which would be nice if it worked that way. So I'm going to type in negative 40, and now that's showing as red. And it also, in our little formula here, since we're adding our cells, it did take the 40 out of our 2000.
All right. So we're going to AutoSum a lot more numbers. So, you know, math is awesome if you have just a few numbers, but what if you're going to add up like 500 different numbers? I am no math genius, so I really want Excel to do all of that for me. So Excel understands basic commands like adding all of the numbers in a range of cells. So we're going to come up with some values just to put in our budget as a group. So for groceries, so we'll go under living, so we'll type in $150 for groceries. Our gas for the month of January was $60. Okay, and our insurance was kind of high, so it was $200. All right, so.
And then you can go through the rest of these and fill out values too. So for your expenses here, how much are we spending? Or actually, you know, let's start, we're going to actually start with our mortgage and rent. So how much are you paying for rent? So we're going to say, you know, this is really nice right now. We're going to say that we're only paying $400 a month. I know it's shocking in Colorado, but we're going to put that in there.
Lots of roommates.
Lots of roommates, yes. Splitting that payment up. For utilities, let's go ahead and say $100. Your phone bill, you know, you're really fancy with your phone. Let's say $200. You're paying more for your phone than your utilities. Your home improvements, you live in a nice place. You don't really need to worry about it. We're going to say $0. And then what we can do now is that as Meg was talking about with the AutoSum, instead of typing in that entire formula, we can actually have Excel kind of figure it out for us. So with us being into cell B16, which is our home totals, what you want to do is, so make sure you select that cell. And then I want everyone to go over to the editing grouping, and this is going to be in the home tab. So we haven't gone anywhere up here. We're still in home. You're going to go to editing and then click on Autosum. So now what Excel is trying to do is it's trying to figure out what do we want it to add. So you can tell what it's trying to add by this little dotted line that's right here. And so what Excel is saying is our formula is equals sum, and then it has B12 colon B15. So what that means is that it's going to add up everything from B12 to B15. So if that's what we want, which in this case it is, then what we can do is just hit the enter key. And then Excel's going to go ahead and it's going to figure out that formula here for us. So what we can do to just fill out the rest of our budget is if you want to autofill, click on, let's just say that our mortgage and rent is going to stay the same. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to autofill all the way to December. And then we're going to autofill our utilities, our phone.
Fingers crossed, home improvements and repairs stay the same.
Say hopefully those will. I mean, that's always what I hope for. And then what we can do is kind of like how we did up here, we can autofill our Autosum formula all the way across to, and Excel is going to go ahead and it'll translate it for whatever column it's in. So if we click on this one here, like this is saying that it's going to add up D12 to D15. And you can check to make sure that it's actually doing that. So let's say, you know, unfortunately in March, we did have to do a home improvement. It was a really big one. We had to go in our savings. It was $1,000. So we typed that in. You can see that this one updated differently than the others because it's only adding these numbers here for that column. And then just as a little refresher too, since these are dealing with money as well, we can go ahead and we can click, and I think that's cell B12. Click and hold your left trigger, and you're going to go all the way over to cell M16. So we have everything highlighted, and we're going to go ahead and right click, do format cells, and then we want currency. And then what we were doing before is that we were turning negative numbers into red. So we're going to highlight this option and then just hit OK.
All right. Now we've been looking at formulas that are in cells that are connected. We can also do formulas for cells that are not connected. Unconnected, that's the word. So unconnected cells. So say under like our living totals, we have groceries, but we didn't have childcare. And we've got eating out. So
we'll say we spent $400.
Oh, wow. Woo, where are you
if you're
going?
like me, I mean, I like to eat out a lot.
All right, so the way that we can add cells that are kind of separated is you can click on one, and then you're going to type in your equals. Is that right? Sorry, do your equals first.
So we're going to click into B22. See, we're all learning here. So we're going to click in B22 and type in equals. And then now instead of, you can either type in the address or you can just click on it. It's usually easier to just click on it. So we can type in the B19. And then what do we do from here?
And then it wants us to add just the eating out. So for example, you can do a plus sign and then click on B21.
Then hit my enter key
to lock it in. So that's just if you want to kind of like skip a cell. So that's just an example. You can also just use the same that we've been doing up above and add everything if you need to.
And this will come more into play when we do our expenses total and our over and short at the bottom, because we won't want to be adding all of the column. We're just going to want to be adding our totals. So when we get down to that portion, we're going to cover this again.
All right, let's go ahead and work on filling out the rest of our budget. So we've got it completed.
What should we do for parking?
I would say like 15.
15?
Yeah.
Okay. cheapest thing on here. Do we want to budget any money for public transportation?
I don't know. Looks like we're paying a lot for gas and parking, so no.
No. Okay. So we won't have that. And then just as a reminder, so you can go ahead to make it a little easier, you can autofill. So we just click and you want to get that black cross in there, drag it all the way over and then let go. We're going to autofill the rest of these all the way across. And then you can actually cheat on this a little bit too. So with your little selection cursor here, if we go ahead and we're going to click in cell B25, and then I drag all the way down to cell B28, which is the last one that I have values, I can actually autofill that same stuff all the way across too. Makes it easy if you have if the numbers are going to stay the same. If they're not going to stay the same, then it's better to just go ahead and do it cell by cell. And then we need to do our transportation totals here. So we could type in that we want to do equals cell B25 plus B26 plus B27. We could do it that way. So we'll go ahead, I'll show you that. So we're going to do B25, do the plus sign, B26, the plus sign, B27, the plus sign, and B28, and then hit the enter key. So we can do it that way, the longer way, or we can go ahead, if we click in the next one over, so let's click in C29, and then you want to go back up to the editing grouping and do Autosum. Then it's going to go ahead, it's going to give us the little, the dotted line that kind of, it circles whatever it wants to add. So that looks about right to me. It looks like it's going to add C25 to C28. So we can just hit the enter key and it'll go ahead and it'll do that for us. And then we can just tell Excel we want to autofill that formula all the way across. Okay.
Dollar sign. Let's make it all currency.
That's a good idea. That way it's all consistent.
Yeah.
So we can actually go through and change all of these cells at the same time. So I went ahead and I just clicked into cell B19, dragged down while holding the left trigger on the mouse all the way down to cell M29. And then when it's highlighted, you go ahead, you right click, do format cells. We're going to do currency. And then we want to do the one that has the red text if it's a negative. And all of those are changed now.
Beautiful. All right, so next we are going to, again, kind of work on doing formulas for disconnected or unconnected cells. So we want to get our formula for our expenses total. And so we're going to want to add our home totals, our living totals, and our transportation totals. So you're going to start with the equal sign again. And then you can go ahead and click on B16 for your home total for January. And then you're going to type in a plus sign. And then you're going to click on B22 for your living totals. Do a plus sign again. And then B29, click on that. And then just hit your enter key on your keyboard. And that'll fill it in for you. And then you can go ahead and do the autofill that we did before. And bring that all the way through to December. And then if we need to, we can do that over and short. So this is going to show us whether we're overspending or hopefully underspending, which never happens with me. But
so to do your over and short, what we can do is we are going to go ahead, we're going to take our income totals and we're going to subtract all of these other totals here. So to do that one, you'll do your enter or your equal sign. And then we're going to go ahead, we're going to click on cell B8, which is our income totals. We're going to do the minus sign. And then now we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on that cell. We're going to click on, cell B16. We're going to subtract again. We're going to click on cell B22, subtract again. And then cell B29, and then we're going to hit enter. So it looks like we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
We didn't hit any negatives. I'm surprised we were throwing some crazy numbers out there.
I know, that's exciting.
And then we can go ahead and we can autofill across there too. Oh, there's a negative number. So I guess we had some.
That was those darn home improvements in March.
Oh yeah, I was like, where is it? Yeah, it was that $1,000.
Fortunately, we had some extra from January and February. So.
It helped us float through. One thing that I want to cover or let you guys know too, as you saw that we're typing in our formulas, one thing that Excel will do to kind of make it a little easier to tell what you have in there is it will change the color of the cells to show you which ones you have. So if we just click down here in a random cell, you don't have to do this, but just watch. If we do equals sign, if I click on miscellaneous up here, see how it turns blue? Now, let's say I want to add another one. So I'm going to add our phones for some reason. That cell's now red. So Excel will change it to help you differentiate where you are in your worksheet. So you can kind of see which different parts are in that formula. And then just to get, if we do the enter sign, we can do that, but then we can just use our lovely undo button that Meg talked about earlier and just get rid of it.
That way, don't ever be afraid to play around with things because you can always click that undo button. So that's
click, sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
I was gonna say, if you're like me and sometimes you get a little too far ahead, you can click it multiple times and it'll keep going back. Yeah. So.
But that's a good way to kind of play around with things. If there's something you're like, ooh, I wonder what this does, you can click it, see what changes, and then if you don't like it, just click undo. All right, so now we're gonna make our budget look really pretty and appealing because we all know. Kind of like
this one.
Yeah.
That you saw at the beginning.
We don't like looking at budgets necessarily, but we want them to be as pretty as possible. All right. So once you have your data input, you can play around with like the look of it. So we're gonna select the cells A1 through M1 and make this kind of like the title of our page.
Okay.
And then once you have it selected, you can change the font. So we're gonna change it to Arial Black because it's nice and bold.
There we go.
And then you can also change the size. So we're gonna make the title a little bit bigger so it stands out. So do 28. Nice and big. And then we're gonna also change the cell color to kind of a darker green. That's too dark.
I say, oh no, it's so dark now, I can't see our text. Maybe we should change the text color.
Yes, so let's change the text color from black to white.
Oh, that's better.
Ah, contrast.
And Englewood colors.
It's a lovely thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Coincidence? I think not. All right. Now we're going to change the income header so that one kind of stands out as well. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing. So we're going to highlight A4 through M4.
And then just make sure that you have that fat white cursor to do this, by the way.
And we're going to change that to Arial Black so it's the same font. And then we're going to change it to a size 24, so it's a little bit smaller than our title. We'll change that to a slightly lighter shade of green.
Just a step up there.
And then we're going to do that white contrast again.
So, and as you guys can kind of see, Excel remembers the last time we changed text color. So it's showing as a white line underneath your A. So we can actually just go ahead and just click on the A. We don't have to go and pick it from the bars here. Yeah. So we'll just leave it at the white.
All right, next one is gonna be for expenses. We can make that kind of do the same thing that we did for income.
So we'll drag it all the way over to the end. So highlight everything. We're gonna go for Arial Black. We're gonna go for 24 for our size. Let's go ahead and we're going to turn it that same color green we have up here. And so it also, just to reiterate, it saves it. So it had that. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on our A to turn the text white. So if you got a lot of them to do like we do, this could be a little tedious. So there is a shortcut that we can show you. So what you want to do is, so we've already done our expenses tab, and we want to do that for the living and the transportation tab. So in order to do that, make sure that you click into A10. You're going to use your little selection tool, and we're going to drag all the way over to what we want. So that's going to go all the way over to M10.
Mm-hmm.
So now that it's all highlighted, if you go up here, we're still in the Home tab. You want to go to the clipboard, and there's going to be this little Format Painter button. So click on that. And now what it's doing is it has that little dotted line that's kind of circling, and that's telling us that whatever is in that is how we're going to copy our format. So now that we've done that, I can go and I can click in Living. And I'm just going to drag it all the way over to where we want it, and then let go. And then it went ahead and it copied all of our formatting that we wanted. So to practice, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do transportation as well. So let's use the living one. So we're going to click in cell A18, which is the living cell, and we're going to drag all the way over to M18. And then we're going to click up here in the clipboard grouping. We want the Format Painter. So again, we're going to get that little dotted line that's kind of encircling the living section, and then we're going to click into cell A24 for transportation, and it's going to go ahead and it's going to copy all that formatting for us.
Bada bing, bada boom. Gotta use Excel. All right. Now we're gonna want to also make our expenses totals stand out. So, what did we do for that one? Good question. Let's go to our 2019 budget and take a peek. Okay, so it's a little bit smaller. Oh, we did some different things there.
Yes, we did.
Here is something that you can learn from us. So if you go to your 2019 budget, say you already have one set up that you totally love the look of, you can actually use the Format Painter from one worksheet to another. So let's go ahead and do Home, because we did that differently.
Okay.
So you're going to click and drag and select that.
The Format Painter.
Format Painter, which we're familiar with. Then you're just going to click on that next worksheet and highlight the part that you want to copy. So we're going to do Home. Ta-da!
There we go.
Nice and easy.
Well, now that it's on this worksheet, we don't have to go back to the other. So we're going to highlight.
And that's living.
Format Painter. And then we're going to do Living.
Yeah.
And then because I got a little overzealous, we're going to also go ahead, highlight Home again, Format Painter. We're going to do Transportation.
Yay. Okay. Now for expenses total and over short, it was kind of bolded, and then the lighter green also.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead then. We're going to copy this over. Let's use that handy dandy Format Painter again. And then we can actually highlight both of these here. Let go. Okay.
All right. And then, oh, we need to make those currency. Currency.
And we can go back in. So we'll highlight all of the ones that we want to turn to currency. We're going to right click, do Format Cells, do Currency, and then go ahead and pick the one that's going to show negatives as red. Okay, so something interesting happened when we changed this. So if you're getting any cells that are giving you this little, the hashtag sign over and over, you know, the pound symbol, what Excel is trying to tell you is that what's in that cell is too big, and so it can't show everything. So it does this a lot with numbers. So if you hover over it, you can see that it said that there should be 3,565 in that cell. So to fix it, we can either go up top, as we mentioned before. You want to get that black line with the two black arrows in either direction. We can click and drag over, and then you basically have to keep adjusting until this will fit. We could either, or we could also just have this, have your cursor in between the two columns, and if we just double click, then Excel's going to go ahead and it'll figure out how far it has to go to make it all fit. If you have a bunch of them though, you can also click in this corner. You see the little triangle up here, and it'll select everything. And then it doesn't matter which one that you hover between, because it's going to apply to your whole worksheet. So we can just double click, and then it's going to go ahead and adjust all of your cells on here too.
I think that's too big though. Let's use the undo button. All right. Oh, let's see what's next. Ooh, printing. All right, so now that we have kind of everything looking cool, we've got all of our numbers put in, we want to make sure that we're going to be able to print it the way that we want it.
Okay.
So we can perform a print preview. So you're going to click on that corner button and go to print. Now you're going to notice that the worksheet doesn't fit all in one page. So the easiest way to do that, it's over by a bit. So you're going to go to the page layout tab. So we're going to go back to kind of our home base screen there, and then our page layout tab up at the top. And we are going to click on the print tiles in the page setup grouping. All right, now page order allows you to kind of play around and see which makes sense for your worksheet. So if you have a really long worksheet, you might want it set up different than if you have a shorter one, or you might just have one that you prefer over the other.
So what this is showing you right now, if we do the down then over, Excel is going to, if this is our worksheet, Excel is going to print your columns in order, and then it's basically going to print the top, the bottom, and then the right-hand side, the top and the bottom. If we do the over then down, then Excel is going to go based off of your rows. So it's going to keep all your rows together. So this one, it's going to print the top left, top right, and then it's going to print the bottom left, bottom right.
All right, so let's see, you can also, okay, so in the header and footer.
It's going to be this up here.
Yep. So you can add page numbers for longer worksheets, so that way you can keep them in order, or you can also add personal touches like your initials. If, say, you're printing out a different budget than your roommate and you want to keep them separate. And then we also have the margins tab. So this is going to adjust how much white space is on the outside of your worksheet when you print. So if you don't want a lot of white space, you can make those margins smaller. If you want kind of like a frame around it, you can make those margins wider. And then we've got our page tab. So this is going to allow us to change our orientation. So we can change it from portrait to landscape, which the way that our worksheet is set up, that's going to be more printer friendly. And then we can go to print preview to see how that change looks. So that's going to fit a lot more of our information in. So I like that. That's a good one. And now we're going to go back to the print titles dialog box.
So just so everyone remembers, when we exit back out, it's in page layout. And then it's going to be in the page setup grouping. It's going to be right here.
And we're going to select fit to one page by one page.
Okay, so fit to one by one.
So that's going to automatically resize everything, so it'll just print on one page, which is what we're looking for.
Here we go, just one.
All right. Now, you probably wouldn't want to use this option if you have like 4,000 rows of information, but this is a good option for ours because we just have the 12 months and you can still see everything. So that's why print preview is really handy, because you're going to be able to see how big or how small Excel is going to make it when you say, for instance, to fit it on one page. All right, so we've got our print preview. We like how that looks. So then we can go ahead and print it.
So that's just this little button right in the corner. Make sure you have the right printer that you have set up, and you just hit print. That's all you have to do.
Yay, budget done. All right, so that is Excel basics in a nutshell. But we do have some homework for you if you so decide. It is optional, so that's why we put the smiley face. You can find some additional help at the website gcflearnfree.org. And on there, you can click on the Microsoft Office tile. And then under that, you can click on Excel 2016. There are several tutorials, but some of the really good ones that'll kind of go over what we talked about today are going to be your basic mathematical formulas, getting started with Excel, creating and opening workbooks, cell basics, modifying columns, rows, and cells, your worksheet basics, printing workbooks, and simple formulas.
And then we also have some online resources for you as well. So with the Englewood Public Library being closed right now, we're actually going to start doing more content on our YouTube channel. And so that's going to have different things like different crafting courses, any other programming that we may have held in the library. We're trying to get it digitally as well. So be sure to follow us at our Facebook. And then also, if you want, go onto YouTube and you can either just search for the Englewood Public Library, or you can follow this link that's in this PowerPoint here, and that'll take you to our YouTube channel, so you can subscribe to that. That's where we're going to be posting a lot of our recorded classes and everything. And then we just wanted to also highlight, if you had any questions that came up throughout this course that maybe we didn't answer or you got a little confused, if you send us an email at epl@englewoodco.gov, then one of us will see it and then we'll respond back to you. And in that email, if you can just give us your name, your phone number, that way we know who we're talking to, that would be great. If we do get enough questions, by the way, we will do a live Q&A on Zoom. So be looking for that as well.
All right, thank you for joining us today. We do ask that if you can please take our survey and let us know what you think. It gives us some really valuable feedback. So we have our link set up here, and thank you for joining us.
Good luck.